Hi everyone, this is Vidyashree here. Welcome you all to this Jury Sisters channel. Today's lecture is about the protection and enforcement of human rights in India through this NHRC and SHRC. It's nothing but the National Human Rights Commission and the State Human Rights Commissions. And we are also going to deal with the recent recommendations given by the National Human Rights Commissions to ensure the non-violation of human rights during this lockdown period or the pandemic. Let us begin. This video mainly focuses on the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993, 2000 and 2019 recently, and the amendments of the PHRA Act of 2019 and 2006 would be dealt under my different sessions in my upcoming videos, and how this National Human Rights Commission and the State Human Rights Commission, NHRC and SHRC respectively, are created, established and enforced. So what is the main objective and the purpose of this commission? And what is the exact definition given under section 2 class 1 subclass D of Protection of Human Rights Act, and what is the composition and what is the appointment and the tenure of the members of the commission, and how the members and the chairman would be removed from the commission, and what is its key 13 roles and functions or the powers of the commission to enforce the human rights in the country. Now let's see what is a National Human Rights Commission, simply called as NHRC, and the State Human Rights Commission, SHRC. As you all know, this National Human Rights Commission is the statutory body and which is created by the Parliament under Protection of Human Rights Act 1993, and also simply and popularly called as Watchdog of the Human Rights in India. It defines as the embodiment of India's concern for the promotion and protection of the human rights. Whereas the State Human Rights Commission is created by the Protection of Human Rights Act, the same act, but it is implemented at the state level alone. And also it inquires only in respect of the state list and concurrent list. Do you know what is the exact definition of the human rights? The definition of the human rights is given under Section 2, Class 1, Subclass D of Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. The human rights as the rights relating to the life, liberty, equality, and the dignity of the individual, guaranteed by the Constitution or embodied in the international covenants and enforceable by the courts in India. So, what are all the key points you have to note it here? The first and the foremost key point is that the human rights related to the life of the person, liberty of the person, equality and the dignity of the person, guaranteed by the Constitution or embodied in the International Covenant. What is this International Covenant? International Covenant means here is the Paris Principles by which the human rights law has been adopted. The Paris Principles were adopted for the promotion and the protection of human rights in October 1991 and endorsed by the General Assembly of the United Nations in 1993. And the third important thing is that is enforceable by the courts in India. Whenever the human rights of an individual is violated, this can be questioned in the court of law, and the court can enforce the human rights of every citizen in the country. So this slide is regarding the composition of National Human Rights Commission and the State Human Rights Commission. So the NHRC has its composition of the chairman would be the retired Chief Justice of India, the 4 members joining him. 1 member would be the judge of Supreme Court, and 1 Chief Justice of High Court, and 2 other having the special knowledge or the experiences in human rights. So apart from these members, we also have the ex officio members. Ex officio is nothing but the important official members of this commission. So totally 4 members have to be there in this composition. The chairman for the National Commission for Minorities, and National Commission for Scheduled Caste, and the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, and the National Commission for Women as well. So with regard to this SHRC, the chairman would be the retired Chief Justice of High Court, and other 2 other member accompanying him. 1 person would be the judge of High Court or the district judge having 7 years of experience, and the other member would be having special knowledge or the experiences in the human rights. In this slide, we are going to deal with appointment and tenure of National Human Rights Commission and the State Human Rights Commission. How the members and the chairman of the NHRC has been appointed. The appointment is done by the President of India, recommended by the member committee. And who are all the members of the committee? They are the head of the committee is the Prime Minister of India, and the second committee of the member is the Speaker of Lok Sabha, and the third member of the committee is the Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, and the fourth member is that the leaders of opposition in both the houses, and fifth one is the Home Minister. And the tenure of this NHRC is 5 years, or the till the person attains the age of 70 years. There is no further employment of in the commission. Next, we are going to see about State Human Rights Commission, where the appointment of the member and the chairman is being done by the governor and recommended by the committee members. The members are the head of the committee is the chief minister of the state, and the second member is that the speaker of legislative assembly, and the third member is that the state home minister, and the fourth member of the committee is the leader of opposition. In this slide, we would be discussing about the removal of members and the chairperson of NHRC's. The president can remove at any time if he finds under any of the following criteria or the reasons. The first criteria would be insolvent. Insolvent is nothing but unable to meet or discharge financial obligations, or if he is employed outside his office and gaining profits out of it, or if he is unfit to continue in his office, or if he is unsound mind, but it need to be declared by the court, or if he is convicted of any offenses, or if he got any imprisonment, or if he is proved misbehavior. So only under those criteria under which the president has the right to remove at any time from the commission. So these are the 13 important or the key roles and functions or the powers of the NHRC or the SHRC. So the headquarters of the NHRC is in Delhi. Let us move on to the roles and functions. First of all, the first and foremost function of the NHRC and the SHRC is that it has all the powers of the civil court and its proceedings having a judicial character. So the recommendations or the advisories given by the NHRC or the SHRC is equivalent to the civil court order or the equivalent to the civil court's decision. It does have the major judicial characteristics. So secondly, it is empowered to utilize the services of the offices or investigation agency of the central government or the state government for the purpose of investigating compliance of human rights violation. If it received any allegations or the grievances from or the complaints from the common or any individual or from any activist, it can utilize the services or the offices of the central government or the state government with its permission to investigate into the matter and to give the proper recommendations or the advisories regarding it. The important third role and functions you need to understand here is that it can look into the matter within 1 year of its occurrences. So beyond that, it cannot do so. The commission is not empowered to inquire into any matter after the expiry of 1 year from the date on which the act constituting violation of human rights is alleged to have been committed. So it can look into the matter within 1 year of its occurrences or within 1 year of the complaint received. The fourth important essential element or the function of the NHRC or the SHRC is that the function of the commission are mainly recommendatory in nature. So for this point, the evidentiary fact is that we are going through the lockdown period now. On April 15th and 10th of 2020, it has laid down some recommendations and the advisories given to the central government to ensure whether all the states and the union territories are keeping in mind when they are implementing the guidelines of lockdown without violating the human rights of the public during this lockdown or the pandemic. The complete dealing of these recommendations and the advisories are being given in my next slides. So please follow up, guys. So the next point is that it has no power to punish the violators of the human rights and not to award any relief to the victims. The sixth would be its recommendations are not binding on the concerned government or authority, but it should be informed about the actions taken on its recommendations within 1 month period. So the seventh point would be to intervene into the proceedings of pending cases involving human rights. So if the proceedings or the cases is related to the HR, then the NHRC or the HSRC can intervene into the matter. And the eighth point would be to review the constitutional safeguards. And the ninth would be to create awareness among public and to spread literacy. And 10th would be to keep on researching on the problems of the human rights in all over the country, and to give remedies or to give the recommendations and the advisories to the state government and to the central government as well. And the 11th point would be to recommend government to pay compensation to the victims of human rights. And the 12th would be to recommend government to initiate proceedings against the guilty public servant. And the third and the final key role function of the NHRC and the SHRC is to recommend government for granting immediate interim relief to the victim and to approach Supreme Court or the High Court for the directions and the orders of the rights.
In this slide, we will be discussing about the advisories or the recommendations given by the NHRCs to the central government, that is Ministry of Home Affairs, to deal with the protection of human rights during this pandemic or the lockdown. And also we will be looking into the observations made by the NHRCs to combat with COVID-19. This National Human Rights Commission mainly focuses on the effective implementations of lockdown guidelines without violating the human rights of the public, that is, individuals' rights during this pandemic. With the recommendatory power of the NHRCs, the advisories given to the central government, that is Union Home Ministries, to direct the state governments and the union territories to ensure whether the arrangements made for the mentally ill peoples roaming on the streets during this COVID lockdown. And also it further asked to issue directions to the states and UTs in this regard and to ensure they don't become easy carriers for the deadly viruses. On 10th of April 2020, during the press release, NHRCs asked the center, that is Union Home Ministry, to inform within 2 weeks about the arrangements made for them. And also further, the details of the steps taken by the authorities to address the issues and the necessary directions may be issued by the center to all the states and the UTs to ensure that the persons suffering from any kind of mental ailment under the jurisdictions are provided with proper counseling towards necessary precautions for them for their personal care and for the protection from the viruses, and also ensuring that they are not deprived of the basic amenities like food, shelter, and medical care. Further, the specific attentions need to be given to the mentally ill persons roaming around the streets. The duty of the states to ensure food, shelter, and social security for the people belonging to such vulnerable classes, first of all. On 15th of April 2020, the NHRCs asked the Centre to issue suitable advisories to the states and UTs to implement lockdown guidelines without undermining people's right to life, liberty, and dignity. Further, NHRCs has asked the Centre through the UHM, that is Union Home Ministries, to issue suitable guidelines or the standard operating procedures or the advisories to all the states and the UTs, emphasizing that while implementing corona lockdown guidelines, the public servants, including police personnel, should behave in a sensible manner with the people, particularly with the vulnerable sections, respecting human rights relations to their life, liberty, and dignity. These directions have come from one of the special monitors and human rights activists. In order to effectively implement the lockdown guidelines, the public servants, including the police personnel across the country, sometimes under the tremendous pressure, tend to deal with the public, especially the ill-informed poor laborers, in very harsh manner, undermining their rights. Though the Commission observed and appreciates the sincerity in working to deal with this situation, to fight against the pandemic apparently being the tough challenges for them. But those who are using this time to be cruel and harsh must be stopped. Mainly the illiterate and the less informed poor are facing extreme difficulties due to the shortage of food and other basic necessities for themselves and for their families.
So this is how the human rights of every citizen is enforced in our country, and I hope you all understood the concepts very well which I've dealt in this video. Till then, I'll see you in the next interesting session like this. Please stay connected with us, guys. Support us by subscribing our channel. Please like, comment, and please don't forget to click on with the bell icon to get the interesting updates from our channel. Thank you guys. Signing off with Yashri.